infrastructure as a code tool for deployment for Azure resources. And we gave like a kind of introduction to how we could bootstrap our deployment right from scratch, working through simple documentations for Microsoft Azure, and from there, kind of writing things the standard way, having modules for deployment, and our deployment was actually scoped to subscription. Yeah, we also took in some questions about what we did the last time. So I'll just give like a brief overview again, just in case anyone has, need time to review what has happened the last time. So I'm sharing my screen now. This is our code from last week. We kind of didn't have time to complete the whole deployment, but we got to a stage where we were able to successfully create network module. We talked about how we're able to use this network module to actually create a deployment from the main.bicep file, which we called in the module here. And we also created resource group module as well, resource from the module. So likewise, we extended that same stuff, creating a key vault module and as well as a virtual network module. So I could share this for further review, just to go through that. Then today, we would likewise want to continue in that vein. What we intend to do today is to try to, deploy this really using CI, as we'll be using Azure DevOps as a CI tool. So we have our collaborator, Chidi Ugu, also in the house to walk us through this. So that's like what we did the last time. Chidi, do you want to give us an idea of what Azure DevOps is?
Okay, thank you, Yanacho, for the introduction. So just like you mentioned, last week we did a review of the code, Bicep code, and then explain the code blocks and how to use them. And then this week we'll be going further to do the deployment and testing of what we did the previous time. So, however, before we proceed to that, I would like to give a brief overview of some of the prerequisites that we will need to do before deployment, because you don't just create a CI/CD pipeline and your code starts running. So there are some basic settings that you need to set up on your CI/CD pipeline. So something like setting up a Microsoft agents or a self-hosted agent, and then creating a service connection. So let me share my screen a bit. Just let me know when you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, so yeah, I can see the screen from my own end. Can everybody? Yeah, I can see from my side.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. If you can see the screen, this is just a walkthrough of what we're about to do today. So the agent jobs, I'll start with setting up a Microsoft agent, explaining what they are. First, we have two types of agents, and these agents are like softwares that are installed. Some are pre-installed, some are installed by the user itself, that is self-hosted agent that will run those your jobs. So in some scenarios, depending on the use case or number of pipelines that you have on your environment, you might need to have your own self-hosted agent, which can be installed either on a virtual machine, on a Docker container, or on a Kubernetes cluster. So having said that, so we also proceed again to creating a service connection, which is a kind of an authentication mechanism that creates a line of connectivity between your DevOps environment and the destination or the remote environment where you want to deploy, either Azure environment, AWS, or any environment of choice, or on-premise either. So Now, having said that, I would like us to go straight to the DevOps environment, and then I will start a bit with the service with the agent jobs. So on the agent jobs, the first thing we'll do is we have already created a project which we used on the previous video. So you go to your project setting. It's pretty straightforward. So go to your project settings and then come down to pipeline. So on this pipeline, you have your agent push. Yeah, I had a video I'll make reference to later after this where I mentioned that all these interfaces and the tabs here will explain them one after the other so that those that are maybe novice on Azure DevOps interface don't just consume the code aspect of it, but also understand how to use this interface. So I've done a video on this. I will explain that again today. So we'll have series on all this interface and we'll explain every details on that. But as we proceed, if you have any question, yes, you can either raise your hand and ask the question or wait till the end, then we take all the questions. So to set up an agent job here, well, we already have this. So you can add pool. Normally you have a default agent job, which is Microsoft hosted agent managed by Microsoft. But if you want to use yours, the best thing to do is just to add a pool, existing name, and then you select self-hosted. On this self-hosted, I can name it demo, and then demo agent maybe as the description, and then we'll grant access to all the pipelines. So once you grant access to all the pipelines, then you can use this particular agent to run most of your jobs. Then why? Okay. Let me start from pre-existing and add new agent. Okay. Instead of going that route, at times it depends on settings. At times you can add directly from that add agent, or you can come to an existing one and start from this tab, add new agent. So whichever way that works, depending on the permissions on the environment. So here I'll be running that on a Linux environment, or we can also do that on a Windows VM. So what do we basically do? You copy this code. Is either you download this. If you click download, you might go a different route, which is having to use a CSP to copy that from your local machine to the Linux environment or any environment you are working with. But downloading the link helps you in such a way that you just use wget and then install the agent on your environment. And then after the installation, other steps here are just pretty simple. You make, after the download, you make a group, you make a directory, and then you can either copy it into the directory or you make a directory before the download so that you can download directly inside that and then unzip it from there. Once you unzip it from there, you have two modes to run that. Is either you run it using a service as a service. So if you run it using as a service, just this config.sh, this the agent will automatically spin up by itself. Then, but if you run it interactively, then you have to start and stop the agent, just a kind of a manual starting of the agent. So, and once that is done, then that's all that you need to do on the agent. In some scenarios, it might also require maybe authentication to this pipeline, requiring you to create a personal access token. In such a scenario, what you do, just come to the avatar icon here, and then you select personal access token. And on personal access token, yeah, so it depends on permission. So on the personal access token, you just create one. Let's say demo. I'm not creating that because we already have a setup. So then you grant full access. Once you grant full access, you click create. Or I'll delete it later. So once you click create, you copy this because once it deletes, you will not be able to see that again. And then use it to authenticate. And immediately that is done, you see your agent job on this interface. Then Going to the second scenario that we'll talk today will be the service connection. So still on the project settings, you can go to a service connection, still under pipelines. So you go to service connection. You have series here. I'll just show a walkthrough because we already have series of service connection here. You create a service connection. Here you have different services or endpoints where maybe you want to push your code, either Docker, Kubernetes clusters, and the rest. So, but for this scenario, if you are pushing an Azure environment, we are just using Azure Resource Manager, and then click next, next again. So it will load um, the subscription. So one of the prerequisites again is the user authenticated on this DevOps interface need to be added to the Azure environment with some level, at least a contributor role on this target subscription where you want to make your deployments. So if that is done, then the subscription should be reflected here, and then you either select an already existing resource group or you create one on Azure environment and the resource group will reflect here. Then you give your service con name, demo service connection also, and then you grant access to all the permission, all the pipelines, depending on how many pipelines you have in environment. In a situation whereby you have different environments like dev environment, staging environment, UAT and the rest, or QA also. So you can decide maybe to grant access to all the pipelines or just make it be specific to the particular pipeline you are working on at the time. So it depends on use case scenario. So these are the two basic things. You can also go as far as creating environments if you segregated your deployments into different environments. But with these two, agent pool and service connection, these are the two basic ones that will make your pipeline to work seamless. So going on to environments and some other settings like getting keys to key from key vault and all that is more complex and we'll be taking it one after the other. But with these two, you can set up your pipeline and everything will work perfectly. So I think I will fall back to Nacho again to take us a bit on CI/CD pipeline. Then why I go further to maybe we'll create a pipeline from scratch, depending on the time we have. So Nacho, are you there with me?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Thank you very much for that overview. So I would like to just go back to my black screen. My black screen I love so much. So yes, I'm gonna be sharing my screen again. Let me know when you see my screen. Hello, do you see my
Yeah,
screen?
yeah, sure.
I was muted, sorry, I can.
Yeah, so this is our repo from our last time. So we have our Bicep template that we have here that we intend to deploy with the with Azure DevOps as a CI tool. And we have our Bicep template here. Okay, based on our best practices of further structuring. So we have our environment file here, which is the Bicep parameter file. Normally, there will be things like dev, UAT, production, different environment for different testing. So for this, we'll just assume we don't have any, you just have only one environment. So in the real world, we should have different environments. So I'll be taking this template and deploying to Azure DevOps. Like my colleague rightfully said, there are things that we need to reference back, things like the service connections that allows us access to deploy on Azure DevOps. But I'm going to be focusing here first on this on the template definition and explanation before we go over to deploying on Azure DevOps. So what happened is Azure DevOps has like a pipeline file. Okay, and that pipeline file helps us to determine the flow or the sequence of events So what that means here is we have different flow, say from A, B, C, D events. It flows from the first event to the last event. So the pipeline helps us to define that that flow of things. So like we have here, this is the pipeline file. So it has other informations like it could have like a PL, uh, PL, a trigger. It could have variables. It could have build name, pool. It could have stages and so on and so forth. So basically, our attention here will be on how we can do this and do it the most ideal way. So what we are going to be implementing here is doing these things with template methodology, which means that we're going to be having subdivisions of our pipeline flow that helps to define the sequence of events. So before we jump to that again, I just want to digress a bit to a little bit of easy bicep commands so we can have an idea of what we are trying to automate. So like we did the other time on our virtual studio code, we're able to do like an easy deployment command to first validate and deploy our codes. Now for doing things with pipeline, obviously we want to make sure that we have repeatedly suitable uh, results all the time. And with this, we'll be introducing some of the things that we'll likely do locally, okay, but doing this through the automation pipeline. I don't know if that makes sense. So things like if we go back here, what we did the first time, if we can remember, we tried to, we validated and deployed with this template using this parameter file, right? So that's like one of the things we know we should do. So the other things we need to do as well, things like checking if this template is valid. Okay, how can we determine if the template is valid? Of course, from the extension we have on our Visual Studio Code, it helps really because once you don't see any error, ideally, it could mean that that template is fine, right? But still, if you're able to build this template, say from Bicep to an ARM template JSON format, you know that this template is valid. So that's some of the things this we'll just pick some important commands here and flow with it. So that will be something like the format command. What does it do? It helps you look at the template and make sure that it follows the right formatting. Say there's not too much of space somewhere, it looks presentable, it looks it looks all in a good formatting, right? That's what the format command does. So I would like to pick some of this as one of the jobs that my pipeline would do. So and this will be in one of the sub pipeline files that I'm going to be calling templates. So I'm going to also just check another good stuff to do here. Probably also want to validate that the parameter file is fine. And I can do that using this command as well, az bicep build parameter. It should be a command like that. Yeah. So this as well will help me validate that that parameter is fine. Okay. So what we can do is we can just pick some of these commands and just see what happens when we do that locally. Then we try to replicate all we are doing locally on the Azure DevOps pipeline. I don't know if that helps. If that helps, like simplify things. Yeah. So let's try that. So just paste the command here really and try to make some change. What would this be expecting? To be expecting my parameter file, right? So that would be in environment directory and it's called dev parameters. So if I want to confirm that this has a valid parameter file, this should say it, right? It runs through it and it kind of like just, this is showing the standard as outputs, but I can as well just allow it produce an ARM template file, but I won't really need to do that. But this shows that it didn't give us any error. It's fine. If there was error, it will have not run fine, right? So if you don't put that standard output, it tries to convert it to an ARM template JSON kind of file, which is actually what it should be doing. But I just want it to output as standard output. Okay, so that's using this command to validate our parameter file. The other thing we can pick from here as well could be, the build command really does similar stuff. Build command, and that will be validating for the template file. You can use that to validate as a validation for the template file. So that will be Azure Bicep build. This time around, it will point to the template file itself, which is our main.bicep. Again, we could as well make a standard output. So that's really it there. So that's the build file, build command. Then the last one I want to just pick here would be the format. Kind of just make sure the formatting is fine. Let's see if we can re-put that. Can I try to make a change here and see if it will flag it to somewhere or change it? Let's see. Change. Yeah, it moves it back. So it corrected the formatting. Just kind of keeping the code clean, right? So some of these commands the point I'm trying to make is that we could replicate that on the pipeline, right? As one of the jobs. Might not have all the time to break this down, but I'll try as much as possible to break this down. So we have our Bicep templates in the Bicep folder, just a choice of how to do it. You can do it in so many ways, but this is how I like to really get these things arranged. So we have the CI, which we also have the templates. Please pay attention here because this is where I'll try to break it down. So we have sub Azure DevOps pipeline files, which are like stages. Okay, I just call the stages following normal convention. So we have again similar kind of structuring, just like we have in the main file. So what we have here is parameters. We're using parameters mainly, and of course the stages. So the parameter is just to help me have like a more reproducible output, right? Just making it standard and being able to pass in different values from the main template. But yeah, so from this gives us the different values of parameters. I have the name. Someone set the name of the stage. You can see it's been applied within here. Okay, it said the name of the stage. It's just an overview. I might not be able to break everything down, just to give you some ideas. This sets the display name. This sets like another property of Azure DevOps stages, which is really mainly the depends on. Okay, this sets the condition. This sets the variable, and so on and so forth. So if you look at standard Azure DevOps stages, it should give us that approach. So it kind of gives us that particular kind of syntax. So we are going to be setting all of these using the template. So it's kind of repeatable and allows us to change different parameters, right? So this is really something out there already. We're just making it more repeatable. So you go back to what I have here, and you see that we are just passing the same idea, but we are passing this into it as a parameter, as different parameters. Now, this is where we also want to pay attention to. We are here just repeating the same stuff I'll have done locally, right? Same stuff we did locally here, and nothing more. So if this bicep file builds successfully to an ARM template displaying in the output as a standard output, we know it's a valid parameter file, right? The same thing goes for the template file. If it builds successfully, we know it's a valid one. This is just what we are seeing here. So doing it, since we're working in different, we're working in a team with different people and everybody is pushing changes to their own repository. We just want to make sure that, you have your way of checking that what they have there is fine, instead of going to hit deployment straight and have a lot of issues. So we just try to checkmate that with some of these checks, really. And this doesn't have to interface with our environment of what sort. It's just entirely just a normal test, like you validate that the file is kind of valid or have the expected kind of values. So I call all of these checks bicep validation stage. That's what I called it here. And the next one here is what I just call preview. The same kind of stuff here, but this time around I'm using the deployment commands or the deployments check. So Azure deployments, popular commands are validate, what if, and the create command. So I'll just explain what the validate command does. Just like the validation for the template file and parameter file, this does the same thing, but it's using the deployment command, and it also compares the template file and the parameter file. It tries to do the actual deployment validation with these two, combining the two together. So whatever the template is expecting, the parameter should have it. So it helps to validate it as a deployment. And now this one is the what if command. But I'm using an extension to do the same what if command. And an Azure DevOps extension is just like a package that anyone can contribute to perform seamless deployment under the hood. Could just be a couple of commands like what's our ARM deployment inside extension is doing, which is basically just doing this same stuff here, but with a what if command. So if we want to see a little bit about this, we could copy this and just check the internet and see what we have there. So this gives like a kind of broad overview about this. But what it actually does is, what I just want to bring out of this is still this what if command. So that means, what is a what if command? It gives you like a preview of your actual deployment before it gets deployed. So like what we did last time, easy deployments. Sorry, let me just copy this and paste. Oh, it's going to have those variables I don't have. So let's write deployment sub validate command. Since I'm using the subscription scope, I'll need a location template file. So that would be the biceps, and the parameter file. That would be the environment. Yes. So this just validates, it doesn't do the actual deployment. So we're going to be having the same output as we'll have in our Azure DevOps pipeline. So I'm kind of just moving in between the two just to give some idea of what this really does. So we're going to be having similarly the what if command, which is what the ARM diagnostic extension does. So it just shows you what this would do. Of course, we've deployed this from our last lesson. So this will just give, we further portrays that if there will be any changes, you will know. If it's not a desirable change, you could abort your change and make some changes, right? So like what we have here, it gives you interface that shows that this symbol is modifier equals to is a no change, and we have the ignore. So what we have here, we have a change in modify operation. So if we deploy this, we're expecting one modification, 3 no changes, and 3 to ignore. This is really what this what if command does. So we call it, I can call it a preview. People could say is a dry run. Okay. So basically this is what this preview deployment stage is doing for us. And we have the deployment stage, which is just your create command, basically. So this is just like different way of doing it. So what else I'm also doing, if you look at these parameters, you see we're also passing variables, which of course, all the values you have here are variables, right? And these variables will have to come, like I say, for different environment, different files, or different parameters, right? So if we are going to be defining variable, we have it here. So we have what we need for this deployment is a service extension name, which is of course like the Azure DevOps user that uses as authentication to create these different resources on Azure DevOps, from Azure DevOps to Azure, right? So that's the name, like we saw Chidi shared with us. We have the template file. So I'll try to explain this. This is pointing to this same main.bicep file, right? So it picks the root, which is the local root of the repository, picks the bicep folder, then it picks the main. The same thing happens with the parameter file. It picks the root, bicep, environment folder, and the name. So the deployment name is just a name that we want to use for this deployment. And the subscription, adjust subscription here this is the value we have for adjust subscription. So this is really not necessary. I've not used it anywhere. I can take it out. So that's really the breakdown of this sub Azure DevOps pipeline files. So that I'm trying to pass in as templates stages, right? So we have the main pipeline now, which will ideally, try to point to these templates. So what we are doing here, we are doing a validation, stage validation. We are picking all this job here, which will be checking we have a valid template file, a valid parameter file, right? And we have a good format of that template file. So the preview deployment basically does the what if operations and also does the validation of the deployment this time around. Then, of course, lastly, we have deploy job. This is definitely a mistake. We could call this infrastructure deploy. It's just a name, right? Oh, no, that's correct. So this is saying, this is the name of this stage. Let me go through this from the beginning. Yeah. So we have the validate job. It picks this particular stage and runs all the job that has been defined here. So we have the name as one of the parameter, which is validate. We have the display name. I'm just using the same stuff. You could change it if you want to. We also have the variables that we to be using for this deployment, which is basically this particular one we have here, right? Which is this one, which is saying go to the variables folder and pick the variables file. So that's that. The same thing for this the stage. From this file here, it says it moves to this directory and picks this folder. You see here, then it picks the validation stage. Then from here, similarly, it picks from here. It picks this directory, picks the folder, then picks the file. So that's what we have here in this first definition. Then this second one, you will see that it has an extra parameter that depends on. So it's saying do not run this stage until this first stage completes, which is checking the validate stage has completed. Okay, because of course, until we have a valid template file and parameter, we do not want to run a deployment preview. What it just means here. So, and this last stage is saying the same thing. We have to wait for this preview to complete, because it's only when we have a desirable deployment that we want to continue with this deployment. Say, for instance, we do not want to have this change, right? We will know that no, we can't continue with something like this because it's going to change some properties that we don't want it to change. So that's what this is basically saying. Yep. So I'm going to close this now, believing that we now understand this a bit. So again, there's one more thing we need to go through here. This service connection. It's been already defined in the deployment as this variable, right? So this user will be used for this deployment. The same thing goes to the preview stage. We'll reference that that parameter, okay, for our validation deployment, the same service connection. So this is the user we'll be using for this deployment. We'll quickly go back to Azure DevOps and continue from here. So this is the project we are using, workload, and we have this. So we go to service connection. We'll see what we have in place here. So like Chidi tried to, as explained to us, this is a user, okay, that will use to authenticate to Azure to create resources, okay? So this is what we also reference in our service connection variables, engine-engineering. Could just be a name that suits your environment, really, but this is what we just called it. And he has already walked us through how to create this service connection. So we create our pipeline. Okay, we'll select create pipeline like we did, create a new pipeline. Then we select which will be our source repository. In this case, we are using a GitHub account, right? Does anyone have any question before we start from here? Any question?
Yeah, I didn't attend the last topic, so bear with me. I noticed that Bicep doesn't have any state file, like Terraform. I was looking at the code when you were working with it. Maybe I
Yes.
skipped.
No,
I don't know.
You didn't skip it. You got that correctly. So Bicep does not have a state file. In fact, this was one of the confusing stuff that came up in our last section. So it doesn't have a state file like Terraform, and ideally it just queries the state directly and does its deployment. So it doesn't have a state file for it to compare its configurations to. And I don't want to go too deep, but Terraform, the state file, it keeps its configuration there, then compares it with whatever it has on Azure. But this goes directly to Azure and does its thing.
So it's talking directly to the ARM templates then.
Yes, to the API. Yeah.
Sorry for bringing you back. That was all. Thank you.
Yeah, it's fine. So then we select existing because we already have this defined in our repository, right? Then we try to navigate to. Thanks for asking that question. Navigate to the path, okay, and that part will be where can someone tell us CI, pipelines, infrastructure, right? Is that correct? Hello, is that correct?
Yeah, I was on mute, sorry. Yeah.
So we'll navigate to the root folder, CI, pipelines, pipeline infrastructure, and we just pick that file. Yeah, so this again will now run. I would have just saved that for running, it's fine. I'd like to rename it. So we are seeing the 3 stages as defined here, right? We have a multi-stage pipeline, we have the validate, we have the preview deployment, we have a deploy infrastructure, and yeah, those are what is showing here as the multi-stage. So we'll see what the validate command does, stage rather does. So it has done exactly what we're expecting it to do. Okay, for the first job, validating the parameter file. The second one does validating the template file and formatting it correctly. So it has moved to the next stage, which is the preview deployment stage. And remember, we are just basically doing a validation of the deployment this time around against the templates and the parameter file as one deployment. And that runs. It runs fine from here, which means it's actually okay. Then it goes to the next stage, which is our preview deployment, which kind of gives you an idea of what the deployment should look like. Okay. So if you will go to the ARM template extension, this is why I kind of use this extension instead of using the what if command, because it gives you like a graphical user interface of what will really change or what the deployment looks like, right? So yeah, it gives us the same results, right? It'll be one modification, which you already saw on our Azure DevOps already. So if I say it's side by side, it helps to see where the particular change will happen in. Okay, but just making it very obvious is really a good thing that this brings to play.
So
Online.
basically, the ARM templates acts as a management layer or state management layer for Bicep.
Say that again, sorry.
Yeah, just like unlike Terraform that has state file, like Claude asked. So ARM template acts as state management layer for Bicep. ARM template.
Yeah, it's relatively the same thing. Bicep and ARM template, the same thing, just making it more readable. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm made to understand that during deployment, the Bicep is converted into ARM template, which
Yes.
manages the state. Okay.
Yeah, all infrastructure as a code actually does that. Even Terraform, it's the state file is all JSON, is all ARM template.
Yeah.
So
Okay, just need the confirmation.
yeah, that's fine. Thanks for asking. So that's looking at this preview, just imagine you want to get this whole stuff from this preview in the pipeline. It looks well, right? For you to even pick the difference. So that extension really helps to pinpoint the difference for us. Then we have the deployment, which is just the create command really, and with this, your pipeline will just fly through. So if there are any errors or whatever, you're going to also see it here. So yes, it would just be nice to always try to rename this to something a little bit friendly. What do we call this? Bicep infrastructure. Any questions? Hello, we have a quiet house.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we are here with you. You did a great job explaining that. But any question at all from any other person?
No. The explanation was pretty much straightforward.
Okay. So I will leave Chidi to give us any further feedback or any additional from his own side.
Okay. Thank you, Nacho. You have really done a great job. So on the agent job that I explained, yeah, basically why I did not go into running those codes and everything. We already have a section where we recorded a video on the hands-on. So which will be posting together with this session as well. So that one also explained how you can run your code in case any error or whatever, the troubleshootings and everything there, and then we'll be able to entertain questions as well on the channel. So on our next episode, I think we'll be okay. We'll communicate about the topic that we'll be treating in our next episode, and then maybe if you have any suggestion on a topic of interest that you say, okay, we would like us to address, you can drop that for us, and then we'll look into it and give a date that will come and train on that.
It looks like Coyote has a question.
So, okay, sorry for pausing. Welcome, Promise.
Thank you, Chidebe. Well done.
We're about rounding up already,
No
but
problem.
you said it.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Kylie, you can go on.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so I come from the security space, cloud security precisely. So I'd like to see elements of um, code scanning integrations with this, either linting with Azure Bicep, integration with Sonar Cube, how this is done, how it's managed into the pipeline, because these are areas of major considerations for someone like me, you know. But all in all, I
Okay.
think I've learned quite a lot on Bicep today. It was a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coyote. So because we had just 1 hour, and Chidi was like, it has to be 1 hour, So I'm just trying my best to make sure that all our programs is bedded into that 1 hour. But yes, like you mentioned, we have other like a LinkedIn for Bicep, which could help to really pass in some best practices checks. Okay. And if you look at while I was working through the AZ Bicep commands documentation, you as well have noticed the LinkedIn in of it. So it's actually part of what we should have as one of the stages check as well. And we also have other likes like using Snake, using checkoffs as well. There are a lot of tools out there, 3V. Well, the one I really used with Biceps much is checkups. maybe we could look at another section for that, because security is really a whole lot that you cannot neglect and cannot be overemphasized. So yes, if you want, I can put in something for bicep scanning, and probably we can have a session on that as well. I'll be willing to do that for you.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Awesome.
Okay. Promise. I think you help us round
Yeah.
up for the day. Ask your
Yes.
questions if you have any, and then
Yeah. I
we
don't know if
conclude.
anyone has any other question for this session. But if you do, feel free to. I think we have a LinkedIn page now. And Chidi, if you can drop the link to the LinkedIn page, so
Okay.
they can as
Just
well
a
follow
minute.
the link. And then, I mean, you can always chat up any of us through that LinkedIn page, right?
Okay.
There's
Just a
an
minute. I'm
access to
coming.
chats any of us from there. And I think there's also a WhatsApp group. Maybe Chidi, you can drop the link to the WhatsApp
Yeah.
group as well, so they can all join the WhatsApp group. And maybe in our next session, just like Ihe and Nacho mentioned, we would demonstrate how you can integrate maybe like a security scanning tool, maybe like Sonar Cube, or maybe a secret scanner into your pipeline while running your bicep
Yeah.
codes.
Where is this chart here?
Yeah, so yeah, on the chat screen here, I think, yeah. Let me see if I would say hi on that screen.
Yeah, because I'm not really. It's in that here.
Yeah, Nacha, can you drop a chat on
Can
the
you say
screen?
hi there so
Yeah,
that
yeah. Hold on, can just verify that. So you guys have a lot of WhatsApp group that you cannot track.
No. I mean the on this screen, on this
yes?
call.
Yeah, you can drop the WhatsApp group
Yeah,
and the
on this.
LinkedIn page, right?
Yeah, I'm not able to see the chat
Yeah, the
screen.
chat icon. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Nacho. Is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
possible?
I'm trying to find it. Hold on. Yeah, I think I'm there. Sorry, I got it. I got it. I'm coming.
Yeah.
Yes, I have it.
I want to have it to just say hi then.
No. We are saying, right, Nacho. Here, Nacho. We are saying on this Teams chat. Can you drop a message on the Teams chat?
Yeah, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Because we are not seeing a message icon on our end.
Yeah, I'm not able to see that. But anyway, the good thing with this is that everyone who registered on the Meetup for this particular session, we have your emails. We can always send you an email towards that, so you could join the LinkedIn page and the WhatsApp group. So
Okay,
that's an awesome one, yeah.
okay,
So
that
rest
works.
assured, we would send an email towards that anyway.
All right, all right.
So I haven't seen any person's hand asking to share like a question or some feedback regarding the session. Well, I guess it means everyone enjoyed the session, and it means we understood everything Chidi and Iheanacho explained to us. So I guess at this point we would round up the session. This series is continuous. We will be having another session, I believe, in the next 2 weeks, right? But if there is maybe a change in that, that will be communicated as well. So just watch out for the announcement on the LinkedIn page to keep updated with the various sessions we will be holding. But I'm sure probably next 2 weeks we should have another one as well. At this point in time, I'd like to say thank you all. Thank you, Chidi and Ihe and
Yeah.
Acho, for
Thank you.
hosting this wonderful session for today. I think it was really, really amazing. All right, guys.
Okay.
See you
So
all next, or let me say, upper week.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
guys. Bye bye, everyone.
Okay. Yeah,
So
bye.
I have the link shared for the WhatsApp and the LinkedIn.
All right,
Can
but
can you
for
guys
some
see this
reason,
on the?
For
No,
some
we
reason, I
can't
think
see
we would
any
see,
message on this end.
what we would do, like I said, is we would send them an email. But I think Josiah has his hand raised up. Josiah, do you
Yeah.
have a question for us? Hello, Josiah, you can unmute. I think
Yeah,
you
it's
have your hand
muted.
raised.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, we
Uh,
can
Hi.
hear you.
yeah, you guys have been doing a wonderful job and doing some DevOps infrastructure. And my question is just simple and short. And in some time in the future, will you guys have some AWS? No, are you just or are you guys just focus on Azure?
Okay.
For now, yeah. Okay, Chidi, go on. Sorry.
Please go ahead.
Okay, I think for now we are focused on Azure for now, but sure, it doesn't stop us from moving to AWS sometime later in the future. But for now, we are focused on Azure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. At this point, I would say thank you everyone for taking some time out to join the session. It was really interesting, and I hope we all enjoyed the session and see you all in the next 2 weeks.
Hello guys.
Okay.
Do you guys see,
Yeah.
sorry, do you guys see the chats now?
No, we
Does it-
don't. But don't
Wow.
worry, we will rectify that in our next session here, Nacho. We will rectify
Yeah.
that in next session. But we will send them an email so they are updated with
Yeah, with the links. Yeah.
links. All
Okay.
right. Thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye.
I would think say good remain 3 of us.
Nacho, I think Nacho has. I don't know if he has
Okay.
stopped the
Okay. He's
recording.
calling. He's calling on
Oh,
WhatsApp.
all right. Okay.
Okay. We can now leave here and join him
All
on
right.
WhatsApp.
All right.
Okay.